Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Scoreboard Keepers. I am your host, the Ref, and you already know the routine. We'll be right back in 30 seconds. Anthony Edwards?
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome you to the Scoreboard Keepers. You're around here, we keep the seats, we keep the score. So if you want to get on the board, make your point. If it makes sense, we'll add it to the board. If it don't, we won't. Scoreboard Keepers.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Scoreboard Keepers. I am your host, the Ref. Well, you guys already know I keep you up to score in everything sports, hip hop, and hot topics. Welcome to the Scouting Report. You know how it goes, man. Anthony Edwards. Not you. Say it ain't so. Let's get this clock rolling, ladies and gentlemen. Anthony Edwards seems to have made the Scoreboard Keeper Scouting Report tonight due to injury. Due to injury, man. That injury bug, man, it gets everybody. There's nobody exempt from the injury bug. The injury bug has no picks. If it wants you, it's coming for you. There is nobody exempt. You hear what I'm telling you? Nobody. So let's get right in, man. Tonight, we turn our focus to one of the NBA's brightest young stars, Anthony Edwards of the Minnesota Timberwolves, who's been looking extraordinary the last couple of years. They just have not been able to get over that hump. There's been a few hurdles in their way. And, this year, man, you would think this year would be their year, to be honest with you. There was a few hurdles. I mean, just over the last couple of years, even if you came out of the West, you knew Boston Celtics were going to be there, but they totally just blew their team up. So for me, as far as I'm concerned, that trophy is wide open right now until OKC can prove that they have a dynasty down there. So prove that they're the new kids on the block. They got one, but can you do it again? And with Boston sending all their players everywhere, Al Horford's in Golden State, Drew Holiday's with the Pelicans. I think Luke Cornett's with San Antonio Spurs. I mean, they just totally just dismantled the entire team. I don't understand it. Jason Tatum's hurt. Tatum is hurt right now, so there's a lot going on with them right now. After flashing MVP level form, he now faces a significant disruption. A right hamstring strain that will sideline him for at least 2 weeks. At least 2 weeks. And it's early. I mean, it's early right now. 2 weeks is a good amount of games, but that's not enough to the NBA season just started. So it's not enough to keep him out of contention. You know what I mean? It's not enough to keep him out of contention, not this early. I know with him just getting into the flow and trying to get the season started off on the right foot is something he probably desired. And last thing he probably wanted was a setback. But, this is how it is. It's how the injury bug is. I mean, it just pops out of nowhere, especially these soft tissue injuries, which is what they call them. And, basketball players getting hamstring injuries is like, that's significant, very significant, because what are you without your wheels? What are you without your explosiveness? You got to be explosive on a basketball court, and it's constant running. So if you don't have your legs, you don't have anything. That's just like being crippled. So you got to be very careful with this because you don't want it to become a lingering problem throughout the entire season. And you don't want it to get worse. So this ain't just an injury. You know what I mean? This is a temporary fork in the road for him and his desires for this NBA season right now. This is a temporary fork in the road, but it can become a permanent fork in the road if this thing gets worse. So you got to be very careful with hamstrings and hamstring injuries. If you guys know anything about that, soft tissue injuries, they are pains. They can take I mean, these are little small things that just like toothaches, but they can become very serious and they set you down. So let's dive into it and see, and see what led up to the moment and how it impacts the season and the Timberwolves and their hopes for what, comes next in that race that they're about to take on this season and tackle the OKC Thunder. Okay. Anthony Edwards entered the 2025-26 season with sky-high expectations. In prior seasons, he's shown nightly scoring ability and 2 All-Star appearances. I'm balling. On October 26th, during the Timberwolves home opener, Edwards exited early in the first quarter against the Indiana Pacers with hamstring tightness and a right hamstring strain. He will miss at least 7 games or approximately 2 weeks. So that's got to be careful. Got to be careful. And these guys, I don't know what kind of stretching routines they have, in this new age, but I don't see athletes stretching as much as they used to. These soft tissue injuries are just all over sports right now. Everywhere. They're everywhere. It's football, everywhere. They're everywhere. They get more soft tissue injuries in these sports than they do even in track and field. So if I'm one of these athletes, I'll go take a page out of one of those track athletes' book just to find out what they're doing to remain, just to stay healthy. I think athletes should share their workouts or tips, yoga, whatever they're doing, to stay limber, to stay loose. Before the injury, he was off to a blazing start, 41 points in the opener, 31 points the following game against the Los Angeles Lakers, showcasing both scoring and playmaking ability, which comes naturally to him. Minnesota, loaded with talent and riding the momentum of recent playoff run, had hopes of pushing past the first round. Now they're facing a test of resilience. So, getting back to where they were and the hot start that the OKC Thunder is off to and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, SGA just doing his thing down there. So, I mean, if you're going to come out of the West, obviously you're going to have to go through them. And they got a good team down there. A good team. 41 points, a 41-point opener and then 31 points versus the Lakers. You balling out. You coming out trying to establish something right from the beginning. You sending somebody a message. I ain't mad at you. I ain't mad at you. You gotta be ready to put BTA, man, belt to ass. If you want to send a message throughout that league right now, that's how you do it. But the West is going to be tough this year. You got Golden State out there that's balling like crazy. You got the Spurs that's balling like crazy. And then you got your usual suspects, man. You got your usual suspects down there. Of course, everything's going to have to go through OKC right now. You got to expect to see Sacramento late in the season. You got to expect to see Dallas late in the season. And it's not going to be easy coming out of there, man. They got some good teams all over the West right now. So he needs to get healthy, as soon as possible. Establishing presence as a clear go-to guy for the Timberwolves, which is no secret. That's no secret to anybody. A shift in role, not just scoring, but playmaking and leadership emerging. So he's maturing. And I was waiting for that. I was waiting for him to mature and to lead that team because I thought they was trying to lean on him a lot early, but he's growing into a mature, accountable player, which I absolutely like. I absolutely love that about him, because not only is he going to be that here, he's going to be that for the face of American basketball as well when they go across that pond. Okay. He learned a lot from being in France this past season. And, come the next Olympics, he's probably going to be the captain. I can see him being a captain. I can see him taking over and taking that torch from LeBron and leading American basketball against the world. So we gotta be careful with Anthony Edwards right now, who could be the face of basketball soon if he turns that corner and do what he's supposed to do as a unit. If they can do what they got to do as a unit, he can be the face of basketball, just like that. His ability to create off the ball, the dribble, and to attack and closeouts, and his deep shots, it keeps opponents, honest, keeps them on their heels. And you got a game plan for him specifically. If you don't game plan for him specifically, he'll drop 40 on you easily. But now the question, it becomes, can he recover and return to that form without missing too much time? And can Minnesota keep rolling, in his absence? Can they do that? Can the Timberwolves keep it rolling? And can he stay healthy? Is he really that hurt? Was it really right? Did he pull something? Did it pull? You don't want that thing to tear, because if it does, that you're talking about missing half the season or more. You gotta be careful with that. I would rest him. I wouldn't rush him. It's still early. And a right hamstring, strain in October, it carries a risk, man. Hamstrings are notoriously delicate. And recurrence, the recurrence of them type of injuries are very, very, very common. So I would treat this thing like a baby right now, and I'm just put him down. I don't know what he was doing, if he wasn't having enough water, if he's just not stretching right, but I'd be having all type of x-rays on that if I'm the Minnesota Timberwolves. I take this as serious as possible, because he is the team. You need him. Missing 1 to 2 weeks in a long NBA season, that's manageable. But for a player like Edwards, who thrives on rhythm and momentum, all this timing and everything is going to matter. So you don't want him missing any significant time. And Minnesota they will lean heavily on the secondary scorers, like Julius Randle and them, and them dudes will be ready to step up when he comes back. Julius Randle, he dropped 31 points in the game when Edwards left. So, he stepped right up, and this is nothing new. He was doing that, he was a baller while he was with the Knicks as well. So it's not like Julius Randle don't know how to put the ball in the bucket. The question is, can the Wolves maintain their identity while Edwards regains himself back to peak form? Can they maintain their identity, or will they lose their identity? That's something that we want to pay close attention to. I think they can. I think Julius Randle's a good leader. And I thought he was a good acquisition by the Minnesota Timberwolves when they got him from the Knicks. I thought that was a great acquisition, because him and I didn't know how him and Anthony Edwards would coexist on the floor at the same time, because you have two alphas, and somebody's going to have to be willing to defer. And I think that, I think it was nice, how they gelled together. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the buzzer. We're going into the second quarter. How they gelled together. But, the Timberwolves have championship aspirations. We're not even going to, mince any words. They do. And Edwards at full tilt was the central part to that vision. So with him sidelines temporarily, you gotta, the opponent, everybody that comes in there now, they're going to test that perimeter. They're going to test that defense. They're going to look for mismatches, and they're going to try to get a lead on that team, because they don't believe that those players have the other scorers. They think that they need Anthony Edwards on the floor in order for somebody like Minnesota Timberwolves to win a game. So they're going to be tested. They're most definitely going to be tested. But if they can hold it down while he's going, man, when he comes back, they're going to be blazing. They're going to find out a lot about themselves while he's in his absence. Because this rotation, the rotation shifts, it's more minutes now for the role players. and they may be able to find their rhythm as well. So this could be a blessing in disguise. You know, the internal culture is, how does the team respond when the leader is out? Does anybody step up? You're going to find out who's who. But Edwards individually, this is a moment where his maturity, conditioning, and his mental approach, it's going to all display itself in this situation right now. And I hope he's out there right now. I hope he's, just taking care of his body and just staying focused on what he wants to accomplish once he comes back. Because the league is much more fun when he's in it, believe it or not. So I wish him nothing but a speedy recovery and nothing but the best when it comes to his health. And I would like to see him back on the floor as soon as possible. You know what I mean? Because it's fun. I want to watch the Minnesota Timberwolves, but I like it when he's on the floor as well. So here's my hot takes on Anthony Edwards and his hamstring strain. The injury, I don't think how the team navigates this stretch, it's going to define whether he's going to be looked at as a true MVP caliber star or just a talented basketball player that people like to watch. You know what I mean? Will he be looked at as like he just needs the ball in his hands, like the gunner? He's the gunner on the team, or is he somebody that everybody around him gets better when they playing with him? If Minnesota handles this by maintaining their identity and protecting the house and keeping pace, Edwards' return is just gonna elevate. But if they wobble and lose games and drop out of rhythm and momentum, and listen, it could be a speed bump that turn into a damn mountain fast on that West, because Steph Curry right now is on fire out there. You got to be careful. He is on fire out there. I mean, all you got to do is start putting a couple nice pieces around him, and somehow he starts turning into something else. And now they got Al Horford out there spreading the floor. So you got to keep an eye on them again now. Anywhere Steph is, you got to keep an eye on him anyway. And that's your Olympic teammate. So, he knows how to get down. For Edwards, the next 10 games, it ain't just about recovery, and I wouldn't rush back, but their assertion is, he's still the guy. And for his critics, it's a chance to say that they seen him, at his peak. But no, you haven't. I don't think he's actually hit his peak yet. I think he's just coming into his own, and I know everybody around the league is watching. They want to see what's going on, and if they get the teams in the West can get a lead on Minnesota, now would be the time. In the standings, if you want to get a lead on Minnesota right now, now's the time to jump right on them, because when he comes back, everybody knows what's going to happen. Everybody knows what's going to happen. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Score Snore segment. All right. Score or snore. Anthony Edwards' durability. I'm going to say score. I think he'll bounce back from this. I don't know him to be one of the ones that always go out with soft tissue injuries, but he's active enough night in and night out for it not to be a surprise that he would come up with an injury like this. Basketball's a lot of running. I don't know how much fluids he takes inside of his body or whatever it is, but I'm pretty sure he'll be looking into that now. And yeah, I just think that I just think he'll take care of his body. Period. The depth on the team, well, that's yet to be seen. I don't think it's where they got DiVincenzo out there, and they got a good supporting cast out there. So I think that's a score. Okay, I'm going to say that's a score as well, because they're not going to just lay down out there. It may be tough, but they have enough depth to get by this. I believe that they'll be just fine. So I'm going to say score on that. So hey, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up tonight's scouting report. You know what I mean? So Anthony Edwards is a story, but it's not just for how he's, how he scores. It's how he's going to lead this team in the future, and how he recovers, and what everybody's going to expect from the Minnesota Timberwolves this season. I know their fans out there, they have high expectations for them. They want to win it all. And if I am mistaken, I think A-Rod is part owner out there as well. I think I see him sitting on the sideline sometimes. A-Rod, the ex New York Yankee. Y'all know who I'm talking about. He wants to win. Okay. For the Wolves and the league, this is a pivotal moment. It's not going to be. I don't think this is going to cause them to be out of any type of playoff contention or anything like that. But if they mishandle this situation with his leg, just thinking we can turn around and it can be in March, and we'll be talking about him still having this problem. You don't want this thing to become a long season ending, basically, type of injury where they got to put you on restricted minutes and all that. They don't want that. He's too young for that. They want him to play freely. So you got to be careful. I'm telling you, hamstrings can put you down. Really, and I'm pretty sure he probably feels that right now. So, drop your thoughts below, ladies and gentlemen, on what you guys think on Anthony Edwards' health and his return, his MVP form running, and in this injury to him. Let me know what you guys think down there, and how this team will perform in his absence, and what do y'all expect from the Minnesota Timberwolves this year? You think they got a clear path to the championship? I think the West is gonna be tough, man. Ladies and gentlemen, man, if you haven't already done so, make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Thumb up this video, turn on your notification bell, okay? And let's converse down in the comments on Anthony Edwards. Tell me how you guys feel about this. I think they're going to be fine over here at the Scoreboard Keepers. I think the team will be fine. I think when the playoffs come around, they're going to be one of the ones that's going to be making a whole lot of noise. Anthony Edwards, we wish you nothing but the best. Okay, we look forward to seeing you soon as you recover and come back and get back on that hardwood. And we'll see you then. Ladies and gentlemen, I am your host, The Ref. Thank you guys for joining me. God bless. So until the next episode of the Scoreboard Keepers Scouting Report, peace.